We've lined up the top stars from Hollywood and from all over the world to entertain you on a giant screen with a few colorful motion pictures you've been hearing about and reading
It's
about.
showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
We're delighted to have you with us. They're driving theater.
You'll find something to please you to add to your evening's enjoyment.
Is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
What's up, gang? Thanks for tuning in. You're tuned into the Drive-In Speakerbox. I am your host, Bo, the boom operator.
And I am Jake Slick Doggy.
I guess that's right. That's right. In last week's episode, he is no longer the Rip. He is now Slick Dog-E, ladies and gentlemen. But you are tuned in. It is Monday night, 8 o'clock Central Standard Time on this lovely August 16th, the year of our Lord, 2021. Isn't that how they say it in the movies? But anyway, you've tuned in. If you're catching us on whatever way you download your podcasts, thanks for joining us. But if you're tuned into the live stream over on Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, you'll notice over there on Twitch, we now have some subscriber bonuses and some emotes and some fun things
Ben's
going over there.
coming in with the franchise Viagra emote.
That's right. I thought that I would make the first emote be something that we talk about a lot on the show because he's in every movie, and like you said, franchise Viagra. It's The Rock. So I made a couple. I could only do 3, so one of them I figured. He could hopefully franchise Viagra our show by having his little emote on there. But anyway, thanks for tuning in. We've got a fun show for you tonight. We're going to be talking about 2 films tonight. We're going to be talking about Free Guy, the new Ryan Reynolds Disney film that is in theaters right now, as well as Don't Breathe Part 2. So hold your breath because those reviews are coming later in the show. So be sure to stick around for those. Did you see anything other than, you saw Free Guy, right?
I watched Free Guy, and I started to watch Titan Season 3 a little bit.
Did it already start?
Yeah, it came out Thursday.
Man.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's why I put on my little shirt here of DC characters and Stephen Amell because the Heels show, I think it started on Showtime too.
So I didn't realize this until I saw a trailer for something about that, and I didn't know that heels were the name for bad guy wrestlers. Mm-hmm. Now, why is that?
Wrestling is carny stuff, man. It's all old carnival stuff. Freak show things. They would do wrestling. It was a carnival act. And
Little people wrestling? No.
So it's all carny talk because that's where professional wrestling came from. So, the people that you're trying to get the money from are the marks. Heels and baby faces are good guys and bad guys. And you have all sorts of carny terms. So.
Small hands.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't know this. I didn't know that. I had no idea that you were so well versed in carny lore.
You didn't know that I was well versed in professional wrestling?
Or no, carny lore. I didn't say professional wrestling.
But it's one and the same. One and the same turns out.
Can you win the balloon pop with the dull darts? Have you ever been able to do that? Or shoot out the star from the BB gun? Like, you remember that? Do you not play carnival games?
No, because
you know
I'd
so much about
lose my money.
carnivals. Or carnivals. No, carnival games. They're super fun. When you win.
Well, since you said Carnicles, did you see that they announced that there's going to be a Chronicle sequel?
Like of Narnia?
No. Like the movie Chronicle with Michael B. Jordan.
And the movie about they're conveniently placed cell phone cameras literally everywhere.
Well, they explain that because he uses the telekinesis to
what
make
a dumb way to
the camera
use
follow him around.
telekinesis. This is the dumbest thing.
He wanted to document his life. I thought it was a cool movie, man.
I thought, it was fun except for that. I was like, this is why, if it hadn't been like a found footage movie, it would have been fine. Or maybe a mix where it was like, okay, here's a little found footage from their friend's cell phone, but then we go back into regular narrative shooting, not like, let me figure out some weird way with telekinesis to make sure that there's always some fucking camera pointed at me, like, oh, I better get all these Motorola razors flying around me so I can get every angle of this shot, and it's literally the scene, and he's like being swarmed by camera phones.
Yeah.
And it's just the dumbest. It was the dumbest. Anyway, so I don't even know how we got to talking about Carnival. But yeah, Carnival games. I mean, I like the BB gun game. They put a load of BBs and it was always like completely not aligned on the sight, and you have to like you pull the trigger once and it shoots like half your BBs. It goes and but then I always wanted to like shoot the carny guy with the BBs because like ouch, and then just take my big giant teddy bear. I used to have a big, giant, like Rastafarian banana.
I bet you did.
That if I still had it, I'd put it on the set. It was like super cool. It was gigantic, and I won it at one of those carnival games. I can't remember what game it was, but it was so huge, and it looked like it was stoned, and it was so funny that this was like a kid toy. And it was like this giant dreadlock wearing like racist banana that was just like, "Hey man," you know. It was just the stupidest. Anyway, Sam over on Facebook says he liked the Gravitron. That's a fun ride. Did you ever ride carnival rides, or are you just too scared?
No, I just don't care for them.
Why?
I don't like rides, man.
You don't like adrenaline? I thought you had the need for speed. I thought you had to live that life 60 seconds at a time, quarter miles at a time, going fast, being a cool guy.
Well, that's why instead of relying on weird carnival people that bring things all across the country and it may or may not be safe, I have my very own race car and motorcycle, so I can control how fast I'm going when I want to go.
You don't know. Those came from across the sea and somebody worked on those. You don't know. You don't know, bro. You don't know what it is to live on the Gravitron while you just finished pounding like a thick funnel cake and a deep fried Oreo.
Yeah, see, someone else on there has done that, which is why I'm not getting in there. You know that scene from Sandlot where they get on the spinny deal after they take the big old bite of chaw because they want to be like Baby Ruth?
But that's like eating chaw. If they had just ate Baby Ruths instead, they'd be having a good old time.
Then it blasts Moss Tequila as they Moss to puke up on everybody.
Who hurt you? That's what I want to know. Who hurt you? Who made you so afraid of life?
You, doggy.
Me? Dude, I'm full of life. I'm just like, let's get more of that life. Anyway, what's going on in the news this week? Oh, man. Nothing. It was just like really just blowing my skirt up. You know, A24 announced that they're like, well, okay, we gave you a theatrical release, so we're gonna put Green Knight out on the interwebs. And at first they were like, okay, there's going to be a one night only streaming event on like August 18th or whatever. And then they're like selling tickets to that. And then I guess just 2 days ago, they were like, and sorry for everybody about those tickets, but we're just going to go ahead and put it out there for the rest of the world the next day. And so on August 19th, you'll probably be able to get that streaming somewhere. But it is still in theaters, select theaters nationwide. I don't know how many theaters it was in last week, but let me see if I can find it. Yeah, it was in just over 1,700 theaters last week, so it's still out there. Not super wide release, but it's out there. Yeah, I mean, what a weird thing where it's just like, let's sell those tickets and then we're gonna put it out for streaming the next day. Like, it's evil, man. Streaming is evil. Speaking of streaming, there was an interview with James Gunn, who but this guy. I don't know why everybody thinks that he's like God's gift to movie making, because he made Guardians of the Galaxy, right? And now everything that he's going to make after that is going to be basically the same formula. And he was in an interview today being like, as we see, I think theaters are dead, and I don't think they're as important to the movie experience as just being able to watch them on TV. That's where movies continue to live, is on TV. And I'm like, no, idiot. Like, this guy, how dare he come out and say that movies don't need to be on the big screen to be long-lasting and impactful? This dude should thank theaters for the fact that he's not still making trauma movies, you know?
What's wrong with trauma movies?
He basically, and movie 43, I don't know if you guys ever remember that pile of crap. This guy had not made any like successful movies that anybody really remembered
until 43 was a big flop. And
Guardians of the Galaxy came out, and now he's just like, well, now that I'm a trillionaire, billionaire that everybody respects and I got all these movie deals, do we really need the theaters? I'm like, yes. You should be looking in the mirror, James Gunn. The theaters put you where you are. if you could have made Guardians of the Galaxy and it came out on USA, like whatever networks of the CW, you probably would not be getting all these people throwing money at you to do these hundreds of millions of dollar budgeted movies. Because as much as the Tromaville Cafe TV series was, no one cares. And no one was throwing you money for that. So, James Gunn, check yourself. Check your privilege, dog. Because,
Who are you?
I'm the guy. I'm Taika Waititi from Free Guy.
Oh, okay.
That character.
Well, yeah. All right, makes sense now.
I'm channeling that. But I just thought that was a really stupid thing for a guy like James Gunn to say, who pretty much should be thanking all of his success to movies being in theaters.
But of course he wants to put movie theaters and stuff down now that his Suicide Squad movie came out, so that everyone's like, yeah, well, maybe theaters aren't it now that they've given their money at the theater, because then now they'll turn to HBO and go watch Peacemaker and continue giving him money. On his format and watch next time his movie comes out. He's like, you know what, maybe the theater is the place to be.
It's a separation of the rich and the poor, the haves and the have-nots. Streaming is only helping. Oh, hey, Vince, thanks for subscribing. Boom, look at that. Look, we got notifications now. That's cool. I thought he'd already subscribed. Did he just subscribe again? Was that a resub? I don't even know how this stuff works on Twitch. But look, we got little cool animations now for those of you that are watching the live stream. But anyway, James Gunn can suck it. And that's all I have to say about that. What else? What else was I going to talk about? There was things. I didn't bring my notepad with me. But there were things. Did you have things? Did you write things down?
There wasn't much that happened. It was all like, who's sorry about whatever actions they've done type of thing. There was some announcement of a Witcher spinoff, but nothing's concrete or whatever, so it's not really worth like trying to get too.
It's like the Witcher anime thing on Netflix that just got a trailer released.
They continue to talk more about the Lord of the Rings series that are coming out, both the
in 2020 million.
Yeah, the Ride of the Rohirrim anime that's supposed to exist, and the Amazon live action. So we'll see how those go. There wasn't anything super concrete. It was all little puff piece things like.
It's a pretty boring weekend film.
Jason Momoa and old what's her face? Why can't I remember her name?
I don't know, but continue.
It doesn't matter. Everyone knows her as Khaleesi anyhow. Amelia Clark.
Oh, Amelia Clark, yeah.
They hugged each other and a photo was taken, so the internet's like, look at this, everybody. So cool. It was all stuff like that, man. There wasn't anything huge in the world of movie news that really stood out. There was something about a British theater chain that was important, and I don't remember what it is because the Middle East flared up real big and took over the news, and I lost track of
everything
British
in the
movie
world.
Theaters. Yeah,
everything in the world. But speaking of British movies, I did see trailers for movies that I hadn't seen in a while with release dates. The King's Man, I guess. That I saw a trailer for that this weekend. Saw some other cool, fun things. But there's some new movies coming out in theaters. Like they're actually starting to put them out there because I think they want to hurry up and get them out and then get them on streaming and then figure out how these contracts they're gonna break them and then make their money. But thanks to Vince for becoming now tier 2. He unlocked the second emote, which is foreign films. It's Jake's Foreign Films. It's a little VHS cassette there. I mean, if you zoom in close enough, it actually says Jake's Foreign Films on the thing, but emotes are tiny. Anyway, I was busy in Photoshop, man. But anyway, there are some movies coming out this week. Several movies actually coming out this week. It's gonna be interesting to see what theaters choose to show. One that I'm actually looking forward to is from director David Bruckner. It's The Night House. I don't know if you've seen the trailer to this or not. It's got Rebecca Hall in it, Sarah Goldberg. It's about this widow who's kind of uncovering this weird mystery from her deceased husband, who has I guess it's like this invert house, some parallel dimension house. I don't know. The trailer's a little bit weird, but it looks kind of fun and spooky, and I know that you're not going to see it because you're probably scared.
I just don't like spooky, creepy, scary things, man.
It's a mystery thriller. I mean, what's wrong with that?
I don't like mystery, actually, to tell you the truth. If Columbo ain't involved, I don't want it. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't know you had such a thing for Peter Falk.
Have you ever watched Columbo?
Yeah.
Super badass. Yeah,
what about Kolchak the Night Stalker? That's like Columbo, but at night.
Magnum P.I. is good for mystery.
And mustaches.
Yeah.
Vince on Twitch, he asks, what's the third tier emote over on Twitch? He can't make it out. It is a drive-in speaker box. So for those of you that have never been to a drive-in before, you're probably not sure what that is, but I'm going to point right there. That is a drive-in speaker box on our set.
Sam asked about Clue the movie. I do like Clue the movie.
It's a mystery, though, good. And people get murdered. I don't know. But The Night House is coming out in theaters this weekend. Also coming out in this weekend, something that I almost forgot about because it seems like it's been so long since I've seen these trailers, and they were just pumping the trailers out for a long time there from director Lisa Joy. It's called Reminiscence. It's
You haven't been plagued by those trailers still?
Well, I was for I don't know, right at the beginning of the pandemic when theaters first started opening again. I saw it. And then it kind of disappeared, and I wasn't seeing the trailer as much. But it's the one with Rebecca Ferguson and Hugh Jackman. Mm-hmm. It's a private investigator of the mind, navigates this world of his past when he gets this new client, kind of classic noir, like, oh, she walked into my office and my life was changed forever. A simple case becomes an obsession after she disappears, and he fights to learn the truth about her. And then I was on the case. I'm sorry, I don't have a good gumshoe voice. Don't give me that look.
I need to have like the trombone or trumpet with the like wow 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 wow. Yeah. Oh, we could have Perry Mason there. Yeah, that was good. And Perry Mason, there's some like.
How's that Perry Mason theme going?
Old style.
I used to have that memorized.
Was it the one that was like the dun 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 dun? No, that wasn't it.
Hey, Afix, thanks for subscribing. Boom,
I'll remember it in a little bit.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear me try and remember the
Ozzy Osbourne's Perry Mason song goes.
Because it was like pretty intense, that Perry Mason song, but whatever. Reminiscence coming out in theaters this week, finally. But I totally forgot about it, so I'll probably check that one out. It looks kind of interesting. Paw Patrol the movie getting that theatrical release. If you guys needed that Paw Patrol in your life, take the kiddos, even though you probably shouldn't be taking the kiddos out in public, even though you're putting them in school and then telling them they shouldn't be wearing masks. I don't want to get into all that. But
looking at you, Texas.
Yeah, first day of school it was today, and I wonder how many kids got COVID. It's crazy. Last Thursday and Friday, I was reading online some social media and all. Some friends were like, "Oh yeah, I started my kid in pre-K, and they've already shut it all down because one teacher tested positive, and now 17 kids have it." And it's like, sweet.
And I don't want to get into all that. Let's get into it.
But let's get into it. But let's talk about the next movie that's coming out. And I don't know if it's going to get wide release. It is a horror film. It's getting theatrical and VOD release at the same time.
So was Reminiscence.
Oh, it's getting VOD at the same time? HBO Max? Good. But this is the new film from Neil Blomkamp, getting kind of mixed reviews right now. Neil Blomkamp, if you've never heard of him, he's kind of a really great director of horror and sci-fi. He did District 9, he did Elysium, he did Chappie. He's done a lot of really cool stuff in his day. Cool director. He's got a new movie coming out right now called Demonic, and it is like this weird sort of mix between classic Catholicism demonology bull with virtual reality. And so it's just like they got the mind of this old lady, like she's in a hospital, but she's like got this wires touching her head. I like how that's just like you just put a pad right there and you're connected to the brain, guys. And she's got this little virtual world and her daughter connects to it, but then there's demons up in there, and then they release the demons into the real world, and the VR world and the real world intersects. And Neil Blomkamp, the thing that makes Neil Blomkamp cool is his creature effects. Like, he's really cool at practical effects. Even when some of the story starts to drift, it's always fun to watch. So I dig Neil Blomkamp. I'm probably going to check this one out. It's coming out this week, as well as the new film from Martin Campbell. If you've been in the theater in the past 3 months, you've seen the trailer to this one. It's got Michael Keaton, Maggie Q, Samuel Jackson. It is The Protege. So from the team that brought you John Wick, it's John Wick, but with Maggie Q. And
sounds way better than the one with
You talk about the Live Wire or Atomic Blonde.
Blonde, yeah.
That one was whatever. But, again, Assassin's Story. You got Samuel Jackson probably throwing out MFers left and right, as he does, just coming off of another movie where he played an assassin with The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard, which we reviewed a couple weeks ago on the show. You can check that episode out. I don't know what number it is, but it's back there. I don't know. I mean, it's cool seeing Michael Keaton on. I love just seeing Michael Keaton, like these actors that disappeared for a decade or longer coming back. I mean, you're seeing this Brendan Fraser's.
Michael Keaton was in American Assassin, dude. Where were you, bro?
I'm just talking about, but there was a time where after Jack Frost, I think, happened, there was a darkness. And
he did Birdman, and
but Jack Frost was like 1991, and then Birdman was like 2009.
Yeah.
There was a period.
Jack Frost wasn't 91. It was in the 2000s.
No, it feels like it was a straight. It was so bad. But it was always fun. Like when I would work in a video store, and I'd like to put the Jack Frost horror film behind the Jack Frost family film, and just hope that a family would come and rent Jack Frost. But the movie was so shitty that more people came in for the Jack Frost horror film, which was hilariously bad.
I watched it.
You watched the Jack Frost horror film and you won't watch scary movies? He gets the icicle wiener and he's just like, hey! And you watched that?
I did.
Who are you?
I'm selective about the horror movies that I watch.
I just don't understand. But anyway, Michael Keaton, it's cool seeing him back on screen a lot. It seems like he's getting a lot of roles thrown at him. Like I was saying, Brendan Fraser also getting a huge resurgence and getting lots of roles. He's in the new Scorsese film. He's, everybody's loving him in Doom Patrol, and he's become the internet's like poster child. Everybody's just this lovable, likable dude. Vince over on Twitch says, I heard an interview from Keaton where he said his manager gave him the advice to do much less and you'll be wanted more. I don't know about that. I think that maybe he just got really lucky with Birdman. And it came back.
That was one thing in the news about people just being sorry for stuff, is Johnny Depp is trying to blame others for him not being cast in more movies, and some movie he made not being released. It's like, oh, maybe you haven't noticed. Nobody's movie's being released, guy. Like, remember James Bond from 4 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
It's still not out.
Top Gun, still drinking out of those cups that say 2020 on them.
Black Widow took forever to come out. It's like, it's not just you, old Deppy boy. So,
oh, who cares what he thinks anymore?
Well, everyone was on his side for like 5 minutes when they're like, hey, Amber Heard is actually a really bad person. And Johnny Depp was like, cool, thanks. And they're like, oh, but slow your roll, guy.
Yeah,
so
quit wiggling them fingers around and just chill out. Johnny Depp. I don't know. Johnny Depp, I haven't liked Johnny Depp in a long time. I think ever since the Pirates of the Caribbean movies got really big, I was just like, Johnny Depp just stopped being interesting to me.
He was cool in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Well, it was a long ass time ago.
Yeah, he got turned into like a
decoration on the ceiling,
upside down waterfall.
That's what he got turned into. But speaking of which, it's almost spooky season. We're getting really close to September, so that's fun for me. Not so much for you, Mr. Courage.
You mean Mr. Guy?
Courage the Cowardly Slick Doggy.
Hey.
Yeah, right?
You mean as the guy that typically ends up working for you instead of...
Well, we're not doing that event this
going out
year.
and having
Yeah,
fun?
you haven't had to do that in like 2 years, bruh.
I did it last year.
Last year you did a one night last year, 1 or 2 nights, 2 whole nights out of 31.
2 or 3. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we got Nightmare on Block Street for those of you guys that live in Northwest Arkansas. It is on schedule, October 1st. That happens, but also here on the Drive-In Speakerbox, it's going to be a little spooky here in the studio. We're going to be talking about spooky things.
Hold on. Vince said from Elm Street to Jump Street.
A lot of streets there for old Johnny Depp. But there's another little movie that was coming out, getting released this week. Probably not in theaters anywhere unless you have like a super uppity art house theater, but it is probably going to hit streaming VOD. But it looks really cool. It just was tearing it up on Sundance. You don't see a lot of really interesting American animation anymore that's not coming out for kids at one of the major studios. But this film looks really interesting from director Dash Shaw. It's called Cryptozoo. You can check out the trailer. It's a very interesting animation style. Reminds me of something that I might see on like an episode of that late '90s MTV show Liquid Television. But it's about cryptozoologists and these cryptids and like releasing them in the wild and protecting them and stuff. It looks pretty cool. It's got an interesting cast of voices in there. I think Peter Stormare's in there, Michael Cera's in there, some other cool things. But yeah. That one's I'm gonna try and find that one somewhere, wherever it's gonna be streaming, but I'm not quite sure where it is yet. But
streaming's evil. I'm gonna find that one.
Well, if it's at a theater, I'm gonna go see it. But if I can't, then I think it's only a streaming because no one's gonna release this like artsy fartsy like American animated thing about like trippy animals and feelings. Yeah, that's not what people want to see. People want to see Ryan Reynolds in a giant muscle skin, like being an idiot, which we're going to be talking about here in just a minute. So Vince asked over on Twitch, you aren't doing the block party thing. That actually hasn't happened in a while, and I don't think it's going to happen for a very long time again. The world's a weird place. Getting people to gather out there, it's hard enough in theaters. We're seeing it right now. People are having a really difficult time coming back to theaters. But maybe movies should stop trying to get them out on streaming and take a page out of Michael Keaton's manager's playbook and just withhold films from people for a while. And we have to just wait.
What would we do?
Well, we do what we did, and we just talk about movies that people had never seen before that are old. Because apparently there's a billion of them that we've watched and nobody else has.
I think that's the premise of this show.
Mm-hmm. It is lately. Vince says, I blame COVID for you guys not doing the worst of the year list. Well,
you're on to something.
Yeah, I mean, when they're all bad.
I was about to say, plus last year, I think that was the determination was like, oh, there wasn't any good movies that you would go watch.
To counterbalance the bad ones.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's like, oh, all of the movies I watched were pretty awful.
We're flaming hot, but garbage. Anyway, let's talk about some movies. Let's review some movies. That's what was coming out in theaters this weekend. You can check those out. And now...
Plenty of Fathom events around too, and they just announced some more.
Oh, did they?
Because this weekend we're going to watch Star Trek.
Is it already this weekend?
It is.
Geez, what day? Please tell me Friday.
No.
Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay. What time?
I don't remember.
Crap. This weekend's been filling up so bad. I'm actually got talked into doing sound for a friend's indie horror short film, something that I'd never in a trillion years say that yes to, except for my buddy Tyler. And he asked me to come do audio for him, and he's shooting a small little indie horror film. I'd invite you to set, but you'd get scared. And we're gonna
That's not true.
We're gonna do that this weekend. So
I'll go. I'll totally go.
You might get scared.
Well,
speaking of being on set, there is something I meant to forward you, Jake. There is a extras casting call for a Western in Oklahoma, and they are looking.
Is it the Scorsese one?
No, I don't know what it is.
It's a different one.
It's a different one, but they're looking for outlaws, extras to be outlaws, and I was just like,
wear a black hat.
Yeah, dude. I should forward you this email so you could go be an extra in like a cowboy movie, because you basically already have the
outfit,
the facial hair, and you just roll up in there with your spurs on and be like, howdy partners, I'm here to audition for extras, Patoop, and you'd like hit a canteen.
Wouldn't wear spurs, but I would throw on my sack coat, my frock, my puff tie, a high stand collar shirt.
They call me Slick Doggy.
Yeah.
Little doggy.
And they're like, no, screw this extra nonsense. You're not a bad guy. And then they'll make me the sheriff. Yeah.
I don't know. Deputy at best.
Deputy Slick Doggy works for me,
I don't
dude.
know about this, but I'll have to send you that email. Sam over on Facebook says Outlaw Casting Couch sounds like a country song. It probably is. It probably is. Anyway, all right. Well, let's talk about some movies that are in theaters right now that just came out this weekend that we went and saw. I will start with Don't Breathe 2. If you guys have never seen the original Don't Breathe, I will give you guys a very short synopsis of this film. Of course, Stephen Lang blew up the internet and the film screen, silver screen, whatever, back in 2016 with Don't Breathe. It was directed by Fede Alvarez, who has now gotten really popular since this movie, co-produced by Sam Raimi. You throw Sam Raimi's name on any sort of horror film, it's going to get a lot of buzz, and Sam Raimi just knows how to pick them. And Don't Breathe follows, these 3 Detroit delinquents that are breaking into houses and stealing valuables. And
Detroit delinquents.
Yeah, well, in Detroit, Detroit had a fall from grace. It's not the same movie or the same city that Dan Aykroyd was rolling around in as Dr. Detroit back when the Ford Motor Company was ruling the roost back then.
You ever see RoboCop?
It's not RoboCop. I mean, actually, it's worse. I think Detroit right now is worse than RoboCop. I think that's where we are, and the future came true. But anyway, there are some serious derelict, huge areas of Detroit, and this group they break into these houses, and there's this sort of urban legend or tip that there's this guy that lives out here in a terribly broke down neighborhood that has $300,000 in cash in his house because of some settlement from this wealthy young woman or whatever that he had a daughter with or whatever. He killed the daughter in a car accident, something, blah 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 blah. They go into the house. He's blind, but he also has secret murder powers and can smell and hear and feel vibrations, and he just straight up
Throw
murks.
knives super good.
Then it takes a really weird turn, and this is where this movie got a lot of notoriety, because it didn't have a twist ending, but it had this kind of shocker moment where they get down into the basement, and there's this pregnant lady strapped up to this rapey pregnancy insemination swing situation, and he's just I'm gonna steal your semen and turkey baste you with the semen so I can have a daughter replacement. And you're what the is this?
You're talking the first movie now, huh?
Yes, I'm giving you a recap of what's happening, because it's really important to know what the hell they were thinking with turning him into a good guy in part 2. And that is what happened. They took this weird turkey basty, rapey, mega murder guy and threw a kid in the mix, and it becomes a little lone wolfy and cub situation where he's got to protect this little girl, and of course is training her to survive too, and making her think that he's her dad. And I guess a crack house or something burned down in his neighborhood, and he rescued her and raised her as his daughter, which seems...
Oh, so she's not the result of the baster.
That's what I thought. And I was just oh, God, is this the basty kid?
Because every time I saw the trailers, I was oh, that's the baster.
But it's not. Oh. It's just a child from these meth heads, or meth house burned down. That was the hard part for me to figure out what's going on. And I think that the producers of this movie, they were everybody loves Stephen Lang's character. How do we do this again? I don't know. Let's just have him on another zany adventure, I guess. He adopts a girl. And, at first it's kind of interesting to see okay, I get it. I love anti-heroes, and I love, stories that aren't afraid to make their heroes make bad decisions and their villains to be sympathetic. But this is a little extreme. You do find sympathy for this guy, mainly because you're not reminded of what happened in that movie in 2016 at all in the movie. You're just oh, likable old dude that's got this daughter he's trying to protect, even though it's not her or his.
Wasn't the turkey baster victim one of the people that broke into the house?
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah. So it's they try to justify it by justice or something.
Better not home invade me, bro. You'll get what's coming to you because freedoms. And of course you find out he's a Navy SEAL, and he's not quite as invincible in this movie, but still doesn't seem to die ever. And it's got a pretty paper thin plot here. The half the movie I'm sitting here asking myself, why on earth are there more people trying to break into this shithole?
Well,
like, it doesn't make sense. But then you find out why, and it's about the girl, and so it kind of patches that thing together. And you're
Is
like,
she like the girl in the Fast and Furious movie where her DNA is what it takes to unlock the ultimate weapon?
basically, except for the ultimate weapon is just like crackheads need an organ transplant. And, it gets weird. It gets real weird. And I don't want to super spoil it for anybody that might actually see it. J.I. says, damn it, late for the show. Hey, J.I., thanks for tuning in, man. But I don't want to spoil what happens in the film, but I feel, while it had some cool, like, kills, I guess this kind of movie is kind of made for these sort of things. It kind of got a little draggy for me, and I guess there's some sort of fetishy home invasion porn that a certain demographic of audience is probably going to really like, and going, hell yeah, dude, I'd hit that dude in the hammer in the face too, man. I'd just nail his nutsack right to the wall, you know what I'm saying? Just pow pow, don't you come into my property on my land, and like I feel like there's enough people out there that aren't wearing their masks that would really love this movie. And but hey yo,
wow, I'm not gonna get into it, but let's get into it.
No subscribers here on the Twitch, but yeah, I mean, they're at the very end where you have this moment, because of course, like, it's not a spoiler to think that the hero and the heroine make it to the end of the film. Okay, like at the end of the film,
heroin, like the one that the addicts are carrying around.
Yes, basically. But he has this moment where he's like, I'm such a monster. I've murdered and I've raped, and I was like, okay, you're addressing this, and I just am just not worthy. And it's like, yeah, well, you're 100% right. But it tries to make this scene where you kind of like want to forgive the guy. And I guarantee you, if you watch part 1 and then immediately watch part 2, you will probably have less of a likable reaction to this character than if you hadn't seen it since 2016, like a lot of people. So yeah, I had to keep reminding myself that this guy, like, turkey-based murder raped a bunch of people in the last movie, and that's
a phrase to say.
Turkey-based murder rape. Yeah, let's get it on a T-shirt. And it's just very, very strange to see how movies that make a lot of money, I mean, the original one had a $9 million budget, grossed $157 million. So, of course, they were like, how do we make turkey-based murder rape blind guy
we gotta stop
property?
Using it.
We gotta do it.
Well, the thing is, people like revenge movies, man. Like, that's like a thing, and you don't see as many of them. They tried to do the remake of... what was it?
Old Boy?
No. Well, they did do that.
And that didn't work.
But any of them, and Bronson, Death Wish.
Oh, Death Wish.
Yeah.
I forgot, but that was Bruce Willis, wasn't it?
It wasn't bad, but no one went to see it. Unfortunately, it's a popular desire for people to want to watch it. Hey,
thanks for the subscribe.
Thanks, Beatbox. But it's not big enough for people to want to go see it without some sort of wild twist on it, kind of like that, like hey, he's blind, so he has superpowers or whatever. And everyone's like, well, that's kind of cool. I want to watch that, because screw these people breaking into this blind guy's house that's sick that he gets his revenge. We're like John Wick. It's like, oh yeah, he's gonna get his revenge because he's a super assassin.
He's super.
Or like the new one with Maggie Q coming out. It's like she's going to get her revenge because they killed Sam Jackson, and everyone loves Sam Jackson, and they're going to deserve it because Michael Keaton's a bad Batman.
Well, and they did something like that in the beginning of this movie, and it's not a spoiler. The dog dies, like, immediately in the movie, and you're just like, oh, the big evil dog in part 1. You see the softer side of this puppy dog, and so then he gets going. He's like, no.
It starts out as the Beast, and the baseball's gone forever. But then at the beginning of this one, turns out it's just Hercules.
It's just Hercules. And then, there's another dog later in the movie. But anyway, like, they have this motivation of like, oh, he's got to get revenge for them killing that dog. And, it's becoming a trope now, where these, like, assassin movies are like, nah, dude, gloves are off because you did this one little thing. And, you know, I mean, aren't assassins pretty much trained to be, like, forever cold and unforgiving and, like, to be able to separate themselves from death and murder in this lifestyle of which they live, to kill people and kill things constantly all the time for money? You'd think that, you know, I mean, it's like, what was that? Oh, God. What was the one with George Clooney? It was American Assassin. Was it American Hitman? American... What?
No.
The American?
Yeah, that might be it. Yeah,
was it
that's
just The American?
Yep, that's the one where he's in Italia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a really good assassin movie. 2010, The American. Really, really, really good assassin movie that doesn't hit a lot of those tropes, even though you think it's going to. Hannah says it sounds more like they're trying to do a more controversial version of the Red movies. The comic book Red movies? Yeah, those are a weird comic book. Didn't they do two? Didn't they weren't going to do a third one, but I don't know if they ever got that off the thing. But anyway, Don't Breathe 2. It's in theaters right now. You can check it out. It's a fun sequel. I mean, it hits the beats. You know, the guy gets beat in the head with the hammer pretty nice, and you get to see a lot of goo. Dude gets his like nose and mouth hole glued shut, which was kind of a weird scene because then he doesn't die, but he has to like open it back up again. He's just like, "Bleh," and he's got like this like gooey mouth the whole time because, you know, he's got to breathe. And he was definitely not breathing there for a minute, and that was kind of a weird, fun scene. I was like, dude, that's a good idea if you're trying to kill somebody. What? Don't give me that look. I mean, hey, everybody's probably got super glue around the house, right? Just like, don't fall asleep, dude.
Not around you.
Yeah, man. Oh, we've got super glue. Anyway, all right, it's in theaters right now. You can check it out. You know, it's making money. It's not making, of course, the same kind of money that the first one made, because look at the climate. You know, theaters are still having a really, really tough time right now. So, you know, and I think people are using the fact that theaters are having a tough time right now to further try and push this streaming agenda. But what you guys do not understand, and I said it a long time ago, and I'll say it again, at the, you know, everything that I've said about the cloud and streaming back when Amazon, you remember when I had said, hey, when it's all on the cloud, even if you bought it, you don't really technically buy it, because what happens if
they can cancel the license and you don't get to have it anymore?
And they're like, that'll never happen because about the digital copies did that. And I don't know why.
But it did. We talked about it on the show because they revoked the license and they had it where you don't buy it, you pay for a contract to borrow it while they still have the streaming rights.
Even though they use the word buy. And I saw that coming years before it ever actually happened, and here we are, ladies and gentlemen. You don't own shit. You don't own anything that you think you own until you own it. Get that physical media. It's still fun. It's still good, and more often than not is in better sound and better picture quality because it's not being throttled by your internet or being compressed or being whatever. So hey, secrets out if you don't have super fast internet, or even if you do, and you know, you've got a lot of network traffic in your area, the sound may get compressed, all that kind of crap.
Thanks for the clip, Vince.
I bet that's
clipping good.
Us. Yeah.
You know what? I was just bragging about my physical media collection the other day because I own a hard copy of The Latest Man.
Leon Phelps,
The Latest Man. Yep.
What do you always drink? It was a Cavassier. Yeah,
Yep.
Cavassier is actually really good. Don't sleep on cognac, you guys. It's pretty tasty stuff. Everybody thinks that it's not, but it's awesome. All right, well, what the other movie that we saw this weekend was, of course, Free Guy, which is the new Disney produced action adventure with Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds definitely being very Ryan Reynolds in this movie. Which is kind of my biggest problem with Ryan Reynolds right now. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine last night after I had watched the film, and I was just talking about how we both kind of think that Ryan Reynolds could potentially be one of the greatest like comedic actors of this generation if he just tone it down like 40%, you know, and just be Ryan Reynolds without just like stepping the gas pedal to 11. You know, like let some of that humor breathe a little bit, like back, you know, in the old Van Wilder days or Waiting days, where it's like, yeah, he was still that quirky, charming, charismatic son of a bitch, but but there was other stuff in between, not just like constant one-liners, joke, 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 and that's what this movie was for me. There was one moment in Free Guy, which we'll talk about in a minute, that I was like, oh, this could be a movie, and then they yanked it away, and it kind of made me mad. But Jake, since I just talked a whole bunch about Don't Breathe, you jump into Free Guy.
Man, you know what? I've been thinking about it ever since I've sat through the movie, and there's not much to talk about, unfortunately. It's kind of exactly what you got in the trailer, and pretty much exactly what you just said is it's the Ryan Reynolds show, no doubt, and there wasn't any question about that going into it. There's not a lot of good things to say, but I don't have a lot of negative things to say either. It was a feel-good movie with some sort of loose video game scaffolding around it, that they tried to make some story. I did feel like there were too many stories going on at one time.
Yes, there were a lot
of lawsuit thing,
unnecessary side quests.
Yeah, the whole thing about like the lawsuit, the thing about leveling up, the Taika Waititi bad guy.
Oh, Taika Waititi's character was so cringy in this movie. Oh my god,
the reluctant spy within the company kind of a thing. There was too much of that going on for it to
like end on a rom-com note, which was kind of weird.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It felt like they tried to do too many things. It was kind of like the game that they were talking about. It had too many layers in it where you couldn't see something, but there was that small reflection of it. Oops, sorry, spoiler, y'all. It doesn't matter because it's stupid. But to be there for you to be like, oh, I guess there's something there.
There's a little heart.
What the people it's directed at, being a Disney horseshit movie, is that people are, oh, I did the thing with the fucking.
Oh man, okay, yeah. When it decided to be the Ready Player One Space Jam moment, Disney, where it's just like, oh, guess what? We can use the Star Wars theme. We can use lightsabers. We can use the Avengers theme. We can use Captain America's shield. We can get Captain America.
Yeah.
Like we can get all these people to like come and cameo. Well, like all at the end, they were like, oh, we got to get it in there.
No, Channing Tatum was there at the very beginning, and
Channing Tatum was okay.
Pretty good. That was like the one part of the movie,
because Channing Tatum wasn't Channing Tatum.
Yes, he was.
He was Channing Tatum, but he wasn't playing Channing Tatum. Does that make sense?
He's playing a nerd.
He was playing a big old freaking goober wiener, which he does really well.
He does really well.
And used his dancing skills to make fun of Fortnite, basically.
Yeah.
And
I did like, where they're like, what's he doing? It's like, oh, he's just sitting there doing the dance.
He expresses a lot with his body. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there were some funny moments. So I'm going to agree with Jake on this one. There were some good moments in this film. Like actually the first, I don't know, I'm going to say half of this movie, I was kind of into it. And then Taika Waititi started showing up. And
man, he ruined it.
He totally ruined it. And then there was this moment. There was this weird moment because the movie is, at its exterior is Wreck-It Ralph meets They Live, essentially. And, two pretty decent movies. But, then there's this kind of weird undertone where it's a story about sentient AI, which is kind of cool because then you're dabbling with singularity and dabbling with some really big ideas. And there's a scene where Ryan Reynolds becomes not just self-aware, but self-aware that he is a self-aware AI.
I know what this movie was.
What was it?
It was them testing out the idea behind Tron 2 and seeing if it would work if they reworked it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
A Tron 2 pilot. But there was the moment. There was the moment of some intelligent stuff, and he has this moment that's not just full of jokes and not just full of whatever, and he acts a little bit, and it was kind of a good 5-minute bit that got yanked out way too quick, and they went right back into, superpowers, power-ups, glasses, bonuses, Fortnite, a lot of, Twitch streamers and stuff like this. And why? There's not a game on Earth that the whole world gives a shit about, even Fortnite. Like, not many, like, there was a family household sitting at Starbucks watching Fortnite. Like, that's not a thing. That was kind of stupid. I don't know.
I think it could have worked if they would have stuck with that premise of a code in the game allowing for an AI to become like a sentient being. and be recognized as such, but having like the one bad guy that wanted to shut it down. I think they tried to do too many characters by having like the two programmer guys, and one is okay with being evil up to a point, and then the other one is reluctantly there because he's maybe going to be a good guy, but maybe not, because he's submitted to corporate will and money and everything like that. There was too much of that. Like, they didn't need the girl and the two programmer guys and the bad guy and the digital bad guy. They didn't need all of that. They didn't
way too much. Yeah,
the streamers being buttholes and everything like that. It was too much. There were some seeds of different potential movies there, but they threw them all into one little pocket and they strangled each other.
And I kind of wish that, like his best friend, the buddy character, and some of the other characters in game, there were stories there that they could have explored, that they went with all the other like stuff that you were just talking about that was a little kind of unnecessary. And I don't know, it just felt really messy. I mean, it felt very much like what the game was about, or what the movie was about, an unfinished, buggy game. And the movie kind of felt the same, but it made some money. It's getting somewhat favorable reviews by people that got watched. So Disney's already greenlit a sequel.
Well, I don't know. That's not a thing that should work, because the way they do this, it's a standalone. So I hate that. I absolutely hate that. They even talk about that in the movie.
They're like, can't we make something original?
Can't we do new IP? And then Disney's like, no, we can't. Why do that?
Disney is Taika Waititi.
Yeah, and they know that. And
they're like, well, if we just draw attention to it,
to realize, it's the Fast and Furious thing. If we point it out, then you can't point it out, and it doesn't matter.
It's not us.
Yeah,
but it's them. It was them the whole time. They're the Taika Waititi character, which was so bad. Like, dude, Taika Waititi is a brilliant filmmaker and a funny guy.
When he first walked in, and
not when he's under Disney,
in his dumbass outfit, looking like an idiot and acting like a butthole, I was like,
who he reminded me of? The character from Hackers, which was played by the dude that was in Short Circuit, and he was like the virus guy. He had a dumbass name. I gotta look it up really quick. Man, because I know all the other people, but let me find his name. This is like Acid Burn or something like this, something stupid. The Plague, Fisher Stevens, and he like rides into the office on a skateboard and like a trench coat because he's like a hacker, even though he works and he's like an older guy and works at this. Like, oh, dude, Hackers is such a good movie and it's so stupid. But yeah, he was the Plague, and he was the one that like developed that worm that was like making money, or I don't know, it was so stupid. Hack the Planet, Crash and Burn. That's a good movie. Anyway, what I was saying is, it reminded me, Taika Waititi's character reminded me of how absolutely ridiculous of a character that was, and it was the same thing. And I just don't, man, does Taika Waititi just have no scruples to selling out? Like, for a guy that has made like Jojo Rabbit, which I think is some of the most amazing satirical but poignant comedy to come out in the past 10 years, and then also is just like, but Hulk penis and Free Guy, and that's cash dollar monies numbers. I don't know how I feel about it. Old Taika, I'm gonna watch you. I'm gonna watch him close. I'm gonna have my super glue ready. I don't know. But anyway, Free Guy, it's in theaters right now. Honestly, okay, I didn't hate it as much as I thought I was going to hate it.
No, like I said, it's a feel-good movie, and you're going to get that vibe from it in the last 25 seconds, but not the rest of it. But it's there. I don't know. It's not enough to be mad about, but it's not enough to praise it in any sort of way. It's just kind of there.
It also reminded me of everything I hate about video games.
Other players,
which is kind of funny, because this is something that when Jake and I occasionally, if you subscribe to our Twitch, sometimes we play Sea of Thieves, and you can catch that on our Twitch channel. But one of the things that we always like talk about is like, man, why can't we just like sail around, just be dudes, and maybe be good dudes, and like give these people some treasure. Join up and say, hey, you need a hand? And like this game or this movie, Ryan Reynolds is like, I just want to be a good guy. And everyone's like, no, you just got to be a toxic piece of shit in these games. Like that's what games are, right? And I felt that.
It is hard when you try to be nice in a game where everyone's used to just being attacked relentlessly. Because you're like, hey, here's some those guys we met, and how long did it take us to convince them to turn in our treasure? And them like
they were what?
So apprehensive.
Huh?
We're like,
what?
Take this, turn it in. It's for you. There's an event. It's free. Take it. And they were like,
and they're like, what?
They're like, are you gonna hurt us? And we're like,
I think I could hear the spring and the cog like fly out of their ear and go boing. Does not compute.
And then once they started turning it in, and we're like, yeah, do that more.
And they're like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, but they were still freaked out about the whole thing.
No, it's super, super weird. But anyway, Free Guy in theaters right now. You can check it out if you wanna. I'm sure it'll be on streaming in about 30 days or something like that.
It's definitely like a one-time watch, not like a movie that you're like, oh, let's go back and watch that.
And honestly, not a movie that I think really needs or gains anything from being in a theater.
The special effects aren't that good. The sound design was not there.
And I would say, going back to Don't Breathe, horror movies are kind of fun, especially in the theater, in a movie like this, because it does force you to have that sensory deprivation from the world and cut off. Because that's another thing, going back to the very beginning of the show when I was talking about James Gunn, the theatrical experience of a lot of people's first time seeing a movie in a theater. Because let's go back to Guardians of the Galaxy. If that was just on TV, it would have just been content. It would not have made any lasting impression on people because everybody would be too busy with their faces and their phones, which is already become a bad enough problem as it is in the theater. And you're sitting at your TV and you got all these people talking and you got bloop and you got alerts and all this crap. I think there are certain movies that really benefit from being in a theater. I think Dune is one of them. A lot of people are afraid that the pandemic's going to really mess up Dune, even though they've got a sequel planned centered around Zendaya's character. But
a sequel to it already, even though it's the 2-part movie. And are they releasing
I think it's the second part, second part, yeah. And it's not released all at once. But anyway, some of these, the theater's important. I mean, Sam, over on Facebook, I don't want to put on my shoes and I don't want to go in a theater because I have a baby now or whatever, and that's my excuse to everything going out in public. I'm looking at you, Sam. But he's like, I'll make an exception for Ghostbusters. Why? Because he knows that he needs to focus on a thing that he cares about, and he knows it's going to be important.
You're not going to care about it when you watch it, though.
Probably, yeah.
Every trailer
it's not
makes
going to be as good.
Worse. Yeah.
It's not going to be as good because every trailer that I've seen is just like, I guess here's the plot of the movie. I'm gonna guess the plot of Ghostbusters.
Egon's dead. His family finds his crap. Ghosts get released. They call Dan Aykroyd.
I mean, yeah, but the reason why all the ghosts are the exact same ghosts from the first movie. It's like the taxi driver ghost, Slimer, Stay Puft. You even see Gozer's hand. You see, and if Gozer's getting out, like, let me tell you, 4 kids aren't going to stop Gozer. They're going to think of something stupid, and it's going to be, a giant Fortnite demon doing the floss dance all over New York. But that's going to be, I think that the containment device is going to be underneath that farm. Mm-hmm. He's like, let me just move out in the middle of nowhere and contain all these ghosts. And then they open it up, and then they got to go bust them. And then Paul Rudd's there.
Well, you know what, dude? I don't know about you or them, but busting makes me feel good.
Bustin' does make me feel good. Sam says he saw Free Guy last night. LOL. If you just tuned in, you missed us kind of talk about our thoughts on the movie. Kind of a meh. But anyway, you can always rewind or like and subscribe. Check out the rebroadcasts. Download the podcast. Do all of that stuff. But that reminds me, we're getting close to running out of time. We do need to hit the box office numbers, or at least talk about them a little bit, because they're very important right now. Number 1 movie in America, of course, was Free Guy.
Dude, Vince hitting it with these fresh emotes
over on Twitch, just really, really using it well. Free Guy bringing in $28.3 million to the box office this weekend. So far, we'll see how it goes the next couple of weeks. Number 2 movie, Don't Breathe Part 2, which we just talked about as well. $10.6 million in its opening weekend as well, playing in only 3,000 theaters nationwide. Free Guy was in 4,100. Number 3, Jungle Cruise, still out there in its third weekend release. It was number 2 last week. $9 million at the box office, bringing in a total of $82.2 million in its 3 weeks and run. Number 4 from MGM, which I guess is now owned by Amazon, correct?
It's in the process.
Yeah. But RESPECT, the Aretha Franklin film Respect, bringing in $8.8 million in its opening weekend. And then down there at number 5 in its second weekend release, dropping down pretty low, was the Suicide Squad.
No wonder he's upset about movie theaters.
Yeah, bringing in $7.4 million in its second weekend release for Warner Brothers, only bringing in so far $42 million at the box office.
Maybe it's because people found out that they were completely misled about the movie, and all the characters they thought were going to be fun and in the movie turn out are not.
Which is pretty interesting because number 6 still hanging in there. It's funny that the number 6 movie in America in its fourth weekend release is standing toe-to-toe to Suicide Squad, which is old. The Shyamalan joint, bringing in another 2.3, bringing its domestic gross up to $42 million. Granted, it took a little bit longer to get there, but it's at the same place as Suicide Squad. Number 7, Black Widow. Number 8, Stillwater. Number 9, The Green Knight. Green Knight bringing a $14 million domestic gross in its 3 weekends and very limited release. 10, Space Jam. And then 11, Escape Room Tournament of Champions. My God, it seems like Snake Eyes didn't even exist. 4 weeks and it was out, and it only made $27 million at the box office. So
it was bad.
Oof. And somehow Boss Baby made a bunch of money. Like, it made $56 million. I mean, it's down there at number 14, but it pulled in 56. A Quiet Place 2, I want to mention this because everybody's talking about box office numbers. Quiet Place 2 still made $159 million at the box office, as did, Fast and the Furious made $172. So, people are still willing to go out and see the movies, although the Delta variant's changing things, of course, and we will see. I mean, AMC, our local AMC, is now requiring masks again to come in and to purchase concessions and to do all that kind of stuff.
Bring back that social distance buffer seat.
Yeah, I don't know if they're doing that, which seems kind of counterproductive to making people wear masks, but, whatever. Well, all right, well, that's our show. Thanks for tuning in. Please make sure you like, subscribe, share. If you're on Twitch, you can actually do those subs, which is pretty cool. And maybe one day we can buy a sandwich with all of our earnings from the show.
Bo can get his flatbread pizza
finally
at the movie theater.
Finally, I can get that flatbread. I mean, they got the oven back, I think. I haven't asked because now I always go full, and I don't just want to ruin my day. But anyway, find us out there: Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And we will see you guys next week. I'm your host, Bo, the Boom Operator,
and I am Slick Doggy.
Bye.